We are going to look at some content from 6.1 and the beginning of 6.2 that should be reviewed. First thing we're going to talk about are like terms, and they are terms that have the same variable raised to the same power. So something like 7x and 9x are like terms because they both have the same variable, x, raised to the same power, the first power. If I was to look at something like 7x and 9x squared, they are not like terms because they have different powers. One has an x squared, where the other just has plain old x, or x to the first power. Like terms are important because when we're trying to simplify expressions, we have to combine like terms. So if I'm looking at this first example, I can combine 3x and minus 7x, or negative 7x, because they both have the same variable, x, raised to the same power. Now I want you to notice that with the 7x, I kept the sign in front of it attached to make it a negative 7x. We always do that. So if I do 3x minus 7x, I do the number part first. So the 3 minus 7 is going to give me negative 4. And then I keep that variable, that x, attached. Then I look at the other terms that are left. So this positive 4y and positive 8y. I add those numbers up, 4 plus 8, to get 12. And it's a positive 12, so I put a plus sign in front of it. And because they both have a y attached, it becomes 12y. I cannot simplify this expression anymore. So this negative 4x plus 12y is my final answer for that problem. If we look at example 2, we still want to simplify, but we have an extra step here. Because the numbers 4 and negative 2 are in parentheses next to a sum or a difference, something that's added or something that's subtracted. So the way we get rid of those parentheses is by distributing first. So I'm going to take this 4 and distribute it to everything inside the parentheses. When I distribute, I multiply. So when I do 4 times the 2 in the 2x, I get 8, and I keep the x attached. Then I do 4 times positive 3y, keep those signs attached. That gives me positive 12y. Then I take my negative 2 and distribute it to everything in that next set of parentheses. So negative 2 times positive 4y, or I'm sorry, positive 4x, gives me negative 8x. And negative 2 times negative 5y gives me positive 10y. Now that I've gotten rid of all of those parentheses by distributing, I can combine my like terms. So if I do 8x minus 8x, if we focus on those number parts first, I know 8 minus 8 gives me 0. So I have 0x. And I'll combine these number parts with the y's, my positive 12y plus 10y gives me positive 22. And I keep my y attached. But let's focus in on this 0x. Whenever a number and a variable are smushed together like that, it means multiplication. So it's 0 times x. And 0 times anything is just 0. So we don't want to write it. Our final answer is just the 22y, because our positive 8x and negative 8x completely cancel out to give us 0. Now on this next page, we have some key words, and we talked about these in class back in Unit 1 as well. So as a reminder, when you see what I call in class are answer words, like sum, difference, product, and quotient for division, you need to look for the word and. That and is where the operation goes. So where you're going to put your plus sign, your minus sign, your divided by sign, or your times sign. So if we look at this, 87 increased by x divided by 9. Increased by is a key word for addition, and divided by is a key word for division. One thing that's a little bit tricky is this comma. That comma tells you that you want to take the whole thing, everything before that comma, and divide it by 9. So we can write this in two ways. We can write 87 plus x and divide it by 9 using a fraction bar. Or we could use parentheses to say make sure you do that addition first and then divide it by 9. If we look at this next example, twice the product of n and 8 plus 15. Twice is a key word for 2 times. The product is an answer word, so I need to look for and is right here. So product is an answer word for multiplication, so I know that where that and is, I need to draw a multiplication sign. N and 8 are the two things that are going to be multiplied, and plus is a keyword for addition. So we need to do twice, so 2 times the product of n times 8 plus 15. If we look at this last example here, we have 8 less than 12 times y. Now less is a keyword for subtraction, and times is a keyword for multiplication. But this then is a word that confuses a lot of people. Then is a turnaround word. So what that tells us is that we need to switch the order around. So because it says 8 less than, that really means that I'm going to be subtracting 8 from something. And that something is whatever comes after the word then. So 12 times y is what comes after then. So we have 12y minus 8. The next thing that we're going to do is talk through how to solve some linear equations. And in this video, we're only going to look at one-step equations. In class, we'll look at some more complicated ones. So for this first equation, x minus 3 equals 10. My goal is to get x by itself, so I need to undo that subtraction. And to undo subtraction, I use addition. So I add 3. Whatever I do to one side of the equation, I have to do to the other side. So I will end up with x equals 13. If I want to check my work, I check by plugging my answer back into the original equation. So instead of x, I write 13 and then copy down everything else. And I'm checking if it's right, so I put a little question mark over the equal sign. Then I simplify each side. So on my left-hand side, I have 13 minus 3, which equals 10. And I can't simplify the right-hand side, so I write 10. And 10 does equal 10. They're the same thing, so I know that I did it correctly. If I made a mistake, I'd have different things on each side of that equal sign and know that I need to go back and check my work. If we look at number 2, 7x equals 14. Remember, when a number and a variable are right next to each other, it means multiplication. So to undo multiplication, I use division. And that gives me x equals 2. If we move on to number 3, we have 9 equals y minus 4. So this time the variable is on the other side of the equation. Now y is on the right-hand side. But we still do the exact same work. Our goal is to get the variable by itself. So if I look at what's on the same side as y, it's that minus 4. So to undo subtraction, I use addition. And whatever I do to one side, I must do to the other. And that gives me that 13 equals y. And you can leave your answer just like that. If you prefer to flip it around so the variable comes first, you can. And if we look at this last one, 10 equals z over 4. So it's important to remember that that fraction bar means division. To undo division, we use multiplication. That'll make our 4's completely cancel out and just give us z on the right-hand side. But remember with equations, whatever we do to one side, we must do to the other side. So I'll multiply by 4. And 4 times 10 is 40. So z equals 40. That was our review of keywords, combining like terms, and solving equations.